Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I'm going to be reacting to one of the first ever videos I posted on my channel. So this content is a little bit different. I have done one of these before. I think I did it in like 2018 though. When I first started my channel back in July 2017, I mainly posted tag videos and list videos. So I have been wanting to go back and revisit some of those list videos and see whether I actually accomplished any of the things I said I was going to do in those videos. So the last time I did this, I reacted to one of the first videos on my channel, which was the top 10 series on my TBR. And this time I'm going to be reacting to my top 10 TBR authors. So this was 10 authors that I wanted to read from that had multiple works out and I had never read a single book by them. I have not proofed this video beforehand to see who is on here. I have a theory that Brandon Sanderson is going to be on there because that is an author that at that time I owned quite a few books from. I don't think Robin Hobb will be on there because I don't think I owned any of her books at this time. This is going to be a huge mystery. So I'm going to go through the video, be appalled at myself because I have already noticed that my accent sounds really weird in this video, and I will also be getting the books by the various authors and letting you know whether I have indeed read anything from that author yet. So I have no idea how this is going to go and hopefully it's going to be reasonably interesting. So this video was posted on the 10th of August 2017, so I don't even think that was a full month into me having my channel. Yeah, let's get into this and see what happens.
Putting off circulation.
Classy.
Hello, my name is Becca and welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you my top 10 TBR authors.
At least now I maintain eye contact with my camera.
Because it focuses on the authors and not so much specific books, because there's plenty of books and book series that I want to read. But not so many authors specific.
Glad I know how to edit awkward pauses out now.
Like, these are all authors who have got at least 2 books or 2 series that I want to read. Quite a few of these, I don't own any books by this author yet, and when that appears, I will be putting
my theory was wrong
here. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to start with the author that I'm least interested in, with number 10, and that is Neil Gaiman. I particularly want to read Neil Gaiman's books because I know that he's quite a notorious fantasy writer. All of these books look interesting, but I don't know where to start. I believe American Gods is good, and they've made a TV show of that, so that might
it's also really big.
Place. I also want to read Coraline, and I want to read Norse mythology, and there is another one that's quite a short one, but I can't remember the name of it. It's something about water. Is it The House at the End of the Lake or something like that? I'll insert the picture up here when I find out.
Okay, so Neil Gaiman. I have since read 2 books by Neil Gaiman. I don't own either of them. I think I got them both out of my library. The first one was indeed Norse mythology. I believe I gave this 3 stars. I didn't really like it. I felt like Neil Gaiman's writing was really impersonal in that, and I kind of put that down to the fact that this was almost a straight retelling of Norse myths, and I thought that I would enjoy a book by Neil Gaiman a little bit more if it was a book that he had entire free reign over and he was working within his own creative parameters and imagination. So I then read Stardust, which was the group book for the Bookie trials back in July last year, and I gave that one 2 stars. I didn't like it. I don't think I like Neil Gaiman's writing. The impersonal feeling I got from his writing when I was reading Norse mythology seems to just be his style, so I no longer believe that Neil Gaiman is an author for me, sadly. I am still slightly interested in Coraline, and I do still want to read The Ocean at the End of the Lane, but I will only read those if I come across them. I'm not gonna go out of my way to read any more Neil Gaiman because I think that he is just not an author for me.
Mine is Stephen King. Now, I'll need some help with this because I have wanted to read a Stephen King book
Still need help with this.
I have no idea at all which one that I should pick up. I don't really want it to be his best book because then I'd be starting with the best and then working my way down to worst books, which isn't what I want to do. But I don't think I've ever read a book that's specifically horror. So my first book by Stephen King would have to be something good enough to keep me wanting to read more Stephen King, but not so good that I'm always working backwards in quality. I don't really want to read it first because it's huge and I don't like clowns.
It is huge and I don't like clowns.
Misery I considered, but I'm not too sure. I don't even think I've seen the film of Misery. I did watch Under the Dome, and that's a sci-fi, so I think that might be a good starting point. Stephen King also writes The Shining, which I've considered, but it might be quite slow-paced and not hold my interest for my first Stephen King book. And I am quite interested in The Dark Tower. Is it a trilogy or a series? Which has just been turned into a film. So essentially, I have no idea what to pick. I don't want to start buying loads of Stephen King books.
Okay, so Stephen King, I still have never read a Stephen King book. I still do want to read a Stephen King book, but I have since come to accept that if and when, I will read a Stephen King book at some point, but if and when I do read Stephen King, it will only be because it is Stephen King, because not a single one of these synopses for any of his books has ever really interested me. I've seen some of the movies based on his books. I saw Under the Dome, I've seen The Shining. I haven't seen the 2 new It movies. The movies that I've seen of his, for example The Shining, I think that that movie is excellently put together. I think that Jack Nicholson does a great job with the acting in that movie. Love the directing style, but the plot is kind of slow moving. Based on my own preconceptions, I can't see that plot holding my interest very much in a book. If I remade this video again, which I may do, I don't think Stephen King would be in there because I would be reading his books just because he's such a well-known author and so acclaimed, and not actually because any of his books actually interest me. If you gave me a stack of 10 books right now and one was a Stephen King book, I would probably not pick it up because I have actually had the opportunity from the library to pick up a Stephen King book at any point, and also I see him frequently in charity shops and I'm just not that interested.
Number 8 is Maggie Stiefvater. There are
I just call her Mandy.
Things that I'd like to read by Maggie Stiefvater. The first one is The Raven Boys, which I believe is about clairvoyance, and it has a contemporary feel to it, so it's a fantasy book but in a contemporary style or a contemporary setting. I believe a lot of people have started reading it and not really understood the contemporary setting for a while, but at least I'm going in forewarned. This is the book of the series of Maggie Stiefvater's that I would most like to read, but I would also like to read Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. I've had these on my shelves forever. I wanted to read the... Okay, so Maggie Stiefvater, I have read Maggie Stiefvater books. I don't own the Shiver series anymore because all of the books in the series were unmatching, but I did really like The Wolves of Mercy Falls. I think that this will be true for The Raven Boys. When I do eventually read that, I am still interested in The Raven Boys. Maggie Stiefvater's writing is very comforting and atmospheric. I absolutely loved the audiobooks for The Wolves of Mercy Falls series. It had a full cast and the voice actors were very soft spoken, and the way that Maggie Stiefvater's writing is very atmospheric and almost lyrical. It translated really well into audio and it was just a really comforting read, especially because her books are quite slow paced and there are some pretty exciting things happening in the plot, but it's definitely just her description of settings and everything that I really enjoyed about the Wolves of Mercy Falls series. I would not even recommend the Wolves of Mercy Falls based on the plot because it is kind of a standard almost paranormal romance featuring wolves, but I would definitely recommend it just for her writing. So I did really enjoy the Wolves of Mercy Falls series, but I have unhauled it because none of the books matched. I am still interested in The Raven Boys and I have still yet to read the spin-off from the Wolves of Mercy Falls, which was Sinner, which is one that I still want to read and will probably listen to the audiobook of it. So far we've done 3 and I've read from 2 and I haven't read from 1, so that's not too bad. Number 7 is David Mitchell. I have 3 books by David Mitchell on my shelves, but 2 in particular I want to read. The third one I picked up just because it was cheap at a charity shop and I'd seen other David Mitchell books that were interesting, so I thought that while I was there I might as well.
Nobody cares.
I think it was only 50p, so it wasn't a lot of money if I don't like it. But the ones that I most want to read are, first of all, Number 9 Dream. The main thing that makes me want to read this is because it sounds a lot like the Wind Up There Chronicle by Haruki Murakami.
So I do in fact still own 3 books by David Mitchell, and I have not read a single one of these. I've always been a little bit wary about David Mitchell because I've still yet to find somebody who can accurately describe Cloud Atlas and tell me what it's about. I still don't even know if it's like a fabulism story or whether it is a fantasy. I also have The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet, which I believe will be the one that isn't mentioned in this video because this is the one that I just picked up because it was David Mitchell and it was cheap. And I do still have Number 9 Dream, which has something to do with the Beatles and is in fact, I say in here it's like the Wind Up Bird Chronicle, but the synopsis of this is more like Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami. So yeah, nothing for David Mitchell. Still want to read his books. If I made this video again, probably would not include him because I don't really know much about his books, so I don't know whether I would actually enjoy them if I read them. He does have another book, well there's 2 actually. I think there's The Bone Clocks and Slade House, which have stunning covers and seem really interesting, but I don't know anything about him as an author. I still don't really know what kind of books he writes, so he's definitely not an author that is the top of my TBR, but there is something about his books that are extremely intriguing.
Number 6 is Robin Hobb. I want to read all of the Realm of the Elvenlings books. Obviously I will start with the Farseer trilogy. The first book of that is Assassin's Creed.
This is weird because I didn't even know that at this time I had any idea who Robin Hobb was. So I'm really shocked that Robin Hobb is on here, but I do currently own 2 books by Robin Hobb that I have not read yet. They are the first 2 books in the Farseer trilogy. The first one is of course Assassin's Apprentice and the second one is Royal Assassin. These are the like super old fantasy looking covers, the mass market paperbacks. Haven't read Robin Hobb yet. But if you wait just 4 short days, you will find out that I am actually going to be reading a lot of Robin Hobb very soon, and I'm just going to leave that at that.
I don't know a lot about this, but I know that Teresa from, I think, A Child's Called Ivy Muse, I'll link down below. She has read the first 2 or 3 and she out.
Okay, this is interesting because I still watch Teresa. Teresa's one of the first booktubers that I subscribe to. I will link her in my description box. And no, 2020 me has no recollection or memory that Teresa ever read those books. So yeah.
I'm trying to read more adult fantasy, so I think Robin Hobb is like a perfect author to get into. The other thing that I like about Robin Hobb is that she has so many books in the same world.
I really love that 2017 me wanted to get more into adult fantasy and 2020 me reads a shit ton of it, so that's good.
A little bit like Cassandra Clare, which is something that I always love because when I really get into a series then.
Also funny because I no longer love Cassandra Clare.
Number 5, which is our halfway point, is Adam Silvera. This is a strange one because I don't read a lot of contemporary anymore, but I think Adam Silvera's books sound interesting and a little bit different from normal contemporaries. Some of them are a little bit futuristic, like what
I can't listen to myself. I take too long to get to a point. So I do currently only own 1 book by Adam Silvera, which is Infinity Sun, which I have just received in the January Illumicrate. I have read 1 Adam Silvera book and that was They Both Die at the End. I gave that 4 stars. I enjoyed it. Not too big of a fan on Adam Silvera's writing necessarily, but I do really like the concepts of his stories because he does tend to write contemporary with a little bit of a sci-fi twist. I still really want to read History Is All You Left Me, which I don't think has a sci-fi twist, but I also want to read More Happy Than Not, which I think does. Infinity Sun is Adam Silvera's first fantasy. Now Adam Silvera is an author that I do want to read and I have read a book by him, but he's not the kind of person whose books I hold on to. I am actually pretty much just going to read this and give it to my best friend Ryan, who is a massive Adam Silvera fan, but I do like reading his books to have read them. I find his stories enjoyable, but he is not a favourite author of mine and I'm not super desperate to read his books.
I also haven't read a lot, if anything, with an LGBTQ main character.
Ooh! Wow! 2017 Becca, you had some fucking work to do, girl.
4 on this list is Laini Taylor. The main thing that I want to read from Laini Taylor is The Daughter of Spoken Bone Tree.
So Laini Taylor, as some of you guys may know, is now one of my favourite authors. I have still only read from her Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares. Strange the Dreamer is one of my favourite books of all time. I do class Laini Taylor as one of my favourite authors, but I would have to read the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, which I still haven't, to be able to confirm that. I absolutely love her writing style though. I think that she writes beautifully. It's very purple prose, but the way that she builds worlds and builds setting is just unrivaled in my personal experience. So yeah, I can definitely say that I have read Laini Taylor and loved it so much that I actually own 3 copies of each of these books. I have the standard UK hardbacks, I have the Illumicrate special edition set, and Muse of Nightmares was actually the first arc that I ever received. I have still, 3 years after starting my channel, only ever received 2 arcs, but Muse of Nightmares was the first, and I have read some Laini Taylor.
Number 3 on my list is Christina Henry. She has written, I'm not sure if she's written any more, but what I know, she's written 3 books. 2 of them are Alice in Wonderland inspired series. I believe that this is quite dark and that Alice is in an asylum.
Okay, so I have an unpopular opinion on Christina Henry. I did read both Alice and Red Queen. I believe that there is another book coming out in that series this year, I think it is. Christina Henry writes horror retellings. I read Alice and I was just really underwhelmed by it, which is an unpopular opinion, I think. I don't think I've encountered anybody else who's read Christina Henry and disliked her books. I was just really underwhelmed. I think that the books did capture the whimsy of Alice in Wonderland, but they made the story really illogical, and seeing as everything else was changed about the world, I don't feel like Christina Henry needed to keep that level of whimsy. She has written many more books since I made this video. At that point she only had Alice, Red Queen and Lost Boy out, but she now has The Mermaid and the Red Riding Hood one. Is it called Girl in Red? As well as a 3rd Alice book coming out this year, and I think she has something else as well. I'm not sure if I would try another book by Christina Henry. If I did, it would probably be Lost Boy, but I think that she may be like Gregory Maguire for me, where I absolutely love her concepts because it's such a unique take on stories that I really love, but I just don't really like her execution. So I believe that that was the 8th author in this video. So our current standing is that I have read 5 of the authors in this video and I haven't read 3, and we have 2 more left to go.
Number 2 on this list is J. Kristoff. The main books that I want to read by J. Kristoff is Illuminate and Gemina, and I can't remember what the 3rd book is called, but I believe it's been pushed back till next year. The main thing that intrigues me with this is the mixed media format.
It's my baby J. I'm unsure who the number 1 author in this video is going to be, but I would be surprised if I have read more books by that author than I have J. Kristoff books. So currently at this point, I have now read the entire Nevernight trilogy, which is 3 books plus a deleted chapter. I have also read the first 2 books in J. Kristoff's other adult fantasy series, the Lotus Wars, and I do have the 3rd and I intend to read that very soon, but I'm going to reread this whole series because I love it so much. And I have also read the entire Illuminate trilogy. So that is 8 J. Kristoff books I have read since I made this video in 2017. I would be very surprised if the author in number 1 beats that. I don't think they will, unless it's Sarah J. Maas, and I know for a fact I had already read most of Sarah J. Maas before I even started my booktube channel. This is funny as well because at this point in my channel, a lot of you guys associate me with J. Kristoff or associate me with loving J. Kristoff's books. So for 2017, Becca, to not have read one yet is mind-blowing. That being said, in an abstract way, I did already know that I hadn't read any J. Kristoff at this point because I only read Nevernight in October 2017, and that was the first book I read by him. But I'm so shocked that not only that it was J. Kristoff, but also that I've read so many books by him. So that was the 9th author in this video, and we are currently at 6 authors I have read and 3 that I haven't, which is really good. But let us hope that the last author in here is going to be one that I've read, so we can make this a 70% complete video.
And finally, the last book on this list, which is the author whose books I want to read the most, is Brandon Sanderson.
Ooh.
This is the first book in the Mistborn series. I currently own...
I thought Sanderson would be on here. I completely forgot that he hadn't come up yet.
I keep going to bookshops and I'll see one of his other series. Are they called? I know is one called The Way of Kings. The Way of Kings.
It's called the Stormlight Archive.
And does he have one called The Reckoners? I've read a few of the blurbs and any of them sound interesting. Also, the books are just beautiful. Like every single one of Brandon Sanderson's books in the UK editions look a little bit like this.
To be fair, all of the UK covers are stunning. So, Brandon Sanderson books I own, I've left most of them over there because I own quite a few. I own the entirety of First Year of Mistborn, which is a trilogy. I own the first book in the Reckoner series, which is Steelheart. And I own the first book in the Second Year of Mistborn trilogy. And I also own Elantris. So the only full book that I've read by Brandon Sanderson is Elantris, but I have also read the first book in his science fiction paranormally detective series Legion, and I have also read the short story and novella that go with Elantris. And you guys may know that a couple of days ago I did actually put up an announcement video to say that I'm co-hosting the Cosmere Along, which is a read along of most of Brandon Sanderson's books in the Cosmere, hosted by my friend Rachael from Rachael Marie's Book Journey. By the end of 2020, I will have read more Brandon Sanderson books than I haven't read, but at this moment I have only read one, but still that is one more in the read pile. So I would consider this video a success. So I'm not gonna watch myself close out this video because it has been a interesting ride from start to finish, shall we say. I have improved a lot as a booktuber, as somebody who just generally speaks in front of a camera. My skills have improved, my public speaking has improved, I'm a lot more confident, I can maintain eye contact with my camera lens. Although in 2017, Becca's defense, she was filming on the selfie camera on her phone, and that's really hard to look at the camera when it's in the corner of a screen as opposed to central. So I'll let her off a little bit. But in terms of the video we just watched, my top 10 TBR authors, I'm happy to say that out of that list of 10, I have read 7 of the authors in that video, some more successfully than others. A lot of the authors in that video I do still wish to read more from. Kristoff still has Aurora Rising, which is in my February Bookoply TBR. I will be reading it this month. He also has his young adult sci-fi series Lifelike, which I do also hope to get to soon. I still want to read Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. I am planning on reading Brandon Sanderson's entire Cosmere in 2020. I also, across these 3 years, have learned a little bit about my reading tastes. Like, I don't like Neil Gaiman, and I also don't really like Christina Henry, so that will help me going forward in identifying what books I do like. For the authors that I haven't read, Robin Hobb, I will have read a significant amount of her books by the end of the year, hopefully. Stephen King, not too bothered about him anymore. David Mitchell is a wild card author. I don't know what I'm gonna do about David Mitchell, but yeah, I would consider this a massive success, and keep your eyes peeled because I think I will be remaking this video sometime soon with 10 brand new authors that I'm desperate to read from. So that is about it for this video. It was something a little bit different from me, so please let me know in the comments whether you liked it. Also, have you read any of these authors, and did you like their work? Did you not? But that's about it for this video, so please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. If you head to my description box, you'll find links to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and 10% off discount code. That's it from me today, guys. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.